and welcome to another Lawn Fawn video. Today I am so excited to be introducing our brand new set, Dandy Day, and its coordinating dies. We're also going to be making 3 cards today, including a shaker card. So let's go ahead and get started. First up, we have a cute standing mouse. We have a mouse that's blowing on the dandelion, and a mama and baby mouse. We have a mouse floating away on a dandelion, and then different styles of dandelion. One with its full fluff, one with some of the fluff blown off, a smaller dandelion, and also the flowers in large and small sizes and some leaves to go along with them. We also have the little dandelion pieces that float off in a bigger cluster, a smaller cluster, and in a single one. This set has great sentiments. We have sending wishes for a very happy day, I couldn't have wished for a better, and then we have friend, mom, or dad. We have a dandy day, and then we have may all your wishes come true. I think you're dandy, and I'm not lying, which is my favorite sentiment of the whole set, and then a little exclamation point to add to the ends of the phrases. Next up, we're going to be adding some color to these fun images, and these E30 markers are my absolute favorite for these cute little mice. In this stamp set, I have to say, even though it's hard to pick favorites, it might be my favorite from the whole release. It's so cute and sweet. I love that you can use one mouse on its own, or you can use them all together for one big scene. So you can do really simple, easy to produce cards, or really more complicated, more involved cards, depending on what you're looking to create that day. These little guys are so cute. I love that they're great for everyday cards, for Mother's Day cards, friendship cards, thank you cards. I just think it's such an awesome, all-around, wonderful set. So here you can see I'm laying down my lightest marker to kind of guide me as to where my shading is going to be, and also to wet the paper so that it's a little bit easier to blend in my markers. I then add my darkest, my medium, and my lightest. For their little bellies, I'm doing an E40 marker, so it has a little bit of a contrast to the color of brown that I used on the rest of their bodies. And then for those dandelion pieces, I'm using some nice bright yellow greens. And I really like putting that light YG01 in the center of them. It makes it look like they're really bending, and I think it looks so pretty. For the little leaves that are going to go at the bottoms of the stems, I really like to add some darkness towards the bottom. And right here is when I realized I forgot to give them little pink rosy cheeks and fill in their ears. So I went ahead and did that on all of the mice. And now we're going to be using some warm grays for the dandelion fluff. So I like to kind of start dark in the middle, and then I'm going to take a darker marker and kind of make little lines in between each of those lines that are in the stamp set. And then I'm going to blend those out with a W0 and a W1 so that they look kind of blurry. And to me, it makes it look really fluffy when you do this. So here we're going to add in some lines there. You can see in between all of them, and then we're going to kind of blend it out. So I'm adding some dark lines and then blending it out with the W0 and then the 0. And you can see how it really makes it look gray and fluffy and really dynamic. For the little flowers, I always love using these Y38, Y35, 32 combo. They're my favorite yellows. They're just happy and sunshiny and so pretty. These are the coordinating dies for the set, which you can bend apart at the tabs or use your wire snips to separate. We're going to take one of those coordinating dies, line it up over our mouse, hold it in place with some low-tack tape, run it through the die cut machine, and have a perfectly cut out image, and he is just the cutest. And here is a look at all of the images in the set. You can see here how you can mix and match everything. So you can take those leaves there and put them at the bottom of the flowers or the little dandelion puffs and kind of mix and match everything. You can have that guy hold the dandelion while he's blowing off all of the little dandelion pieces on there. You can mix and match that little dandelion and have the different mice holding them. I just love that you can mix and match everything, and the little tiny mouse with that big yellow flower is one of my favorite images. So right here is some of our brand new shimmer cardstock, and it is so gorgeous. And I'm going to die cut that with the new Meadow backdrop. So you can see now we have this beautiful shine and texture and this really cool backdrop we're going to fill in with our mice. Now this is some Hello Sunshine paper, and I'm using the 12 by 12 paper because I really wanted to have those big clouds in the paper. They're perfect for setting a scene. And we're going to create a standard size card base at 5.5 by 4.25 and layer that really cool paper from Hello Sunshine that's the perfect scene builder in the background. Going to go ahead and add some foam squares to the back of that backdrop to give it some nice dimension. So it's going to be kind of popped up and having those clouds in the background. And I love how easy this background is. All I did was have to pass it through the die cut machine one time, and it gives me this whole awesome scene that I can start to add my characters to. So here is one of these simple wavy banners, and our wavy banners are a perfect match for this stamp set because there's a lot of wavy sentiments in them. Although in this case, I'm actually going to use one of these straight sentiments in this set and curve it to match the banner. I really love the look of the wavy with the dandelion pieces floating around. I feel like it makes it look like even the sentiment is blowing in the wind. So I'm going to do the I think you're dandy and then the I'm not lying on the other banner. And every time I stamp that, it just makes me giggle. It's so cute and funny. I want these to look like they're kind of coming off the edge of the card. So I'm going to line it up right with the edge of that banner there and then use a pencil to make a little guide mark so that I know where to trim it off. So I'm going to do this on both of these banners. So we'll line that up and add a little pencil mark, and then we can take our scissors and just trim off any of the excess. And I really like this look once again because they're kind of like flags floating around in the wind of the sky. Then we'll add some foam squares to the back of these and pop them up on the card so that they're at the same level of our cool little meadow that we have. Next is my favorite part, and that's to start setting the scene by adding those cute little mice and dandelions and flowers. So I'm going to add some of them on with foam squares and some of them on with just tape runner to kind of have some nice dimension back and forth. You'll see I just trimmed off the edge of that flower so it looks like that tiny little baby mouse is holding the flower. That's just so cute. We're going to layer that big dandelion into those leaves there, and then we're going to tuck that into that hill. And by tucking it into the hill, it's going to give the card even more dimension without even having to add more foam to it. Now here you'll see I started adding this standing mouse, and I thought it looked kind of weird, like he was too similar to the one above him. So there's this really cool Superstar set, and there's a little sitting mouse in it, and these mice all coordinate with each other. So you can mix and match both the Dandy Day set and the Superstar set together. So I'm going to take that little sitting mice, I'm going to stamp him, color him, and die cut him, and add him onto the card holding that tiny little dandelion. And I think it just sets the whole scene, and this card is just so adorable. It's actually really quick and easy to do since we used a background die, and then we also used that really cool pattern paper. You can see here that I've made quite a few of these, just kind of repeating the same design because it's great to have in my stash. I could stamp thank you on the inside, birthday, and this could be used for all different occasions. So making this card just made me so happy. Next up, we're recreating a Mother's Day card by Grace that's absolutely gorgeous, and we're going to use the brand new Dandy Day paper. We're going to pick that pink paper, and we're going to die cut that with the largest of the stitched rectangles. Then we're going to create a card base that's a 5.5 by 4.25 inch standard size, add some tape runner, and then attach that stitched rectangle to our card base. Here we have a stitched scalloped rectangle frame, and we're going to die cut this from some white cardstock, and we're going to die cut it a whole bunch of times. And that's because we're going to be creating a shaker. And for this shaker, the way we're going to do it is we're going to layer these pieces on top of each other to kind of create the well where our sequins are going to move around in. Another way that you can do this is by die cutting some of that kids fun foam stuff that you can buy in the craft store. That also works really well, but in this case I decided to just cut a bunch of white cardstock and just stack all of these pieces together. So I'm using my glue tube to go around in the rectangle and then attaching each piece on top of each other. So I'm going to add the last piece on there, and then we're going to add the backing for our shaker. So we're going to take out that Dandy Day paper again, and this time we're going to take out some of that green paper, the lighter green, and we're going to cut that down so that it's a perfect match for the back of this rectangle frame. We'll add some liquid glue all around the edges, and we can layer our frame that has all of that height now to it right on top. We're going to die cut another one of those simple wavy banners there. We're going to die cut that out of some ballet slippers cardstock to go with the pink in our background. And then instead of using acetate for the window in the shaker, we're going to use vellum. And you can see what a soft, beautiful look that gives it. Kind of diffuses that pattern paper and just is really, really unique. And we're going to be doing some white heat embossing for our sentiment here. So we're going to be heat embossing on both the vellum and onto that pink wavy banner. And we're going to be saying, I couldn't have wished for a better mom. But we're going to mix and match two stamp sets here to kind of change up the font. So we're going to take out the Swan Soiree set that has this big scripty mom and use that on the card. And Grace had this idea because that big scripty look really looks nice with this kind of soft, elegant nature of this Mother's Day card. So we've used a powder tool, anti-static tool, to add to both of ours so that we don't end up having any of that powder stick to anywhere but where we're stamping with that nice clear embossing ink. We can sprinkle on some white heat embossing powder, and now we've got our sentiment on the vellum, and then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to stamp in that clear embossing ink onto our pink wavy banner, and once again add some white heat embossing powder. Then we can go ahead and take our heat tool and heat both of them up. Now when you're heating vellum, you definitely want to heat it from a little bit further away and from the back. That has a tendency to kind of heat it really nicely without warping that vellum, and you can see just how pretty that's looking. Now to create our shaker, we're going to take that anti-static tool again, but this time we're going to run it all along the inside of the shaker just to remove any excess stickiness we might have had from some of that glue that we used earlier. It's going to help our sequins move around really well. And then we're going to drop in some white and clear sequins here, and that's going to go really well with our white frame. Next, we're taking some 1/8 inch double-sided tape, and we're going to go around all of the edges of this shaker, and this is how we're going to attach our vellum. So we're going to add that on just like that. We can peel off all of that liner paper and then attach the vellum on top, and I just love the look of a vellum shaker. I need to remember to do this more often because it's really pretty, and it's a cool way to use your pattern paper because it gives that pattern paper a totally different look by layering the vellum on top. To finish off our shaker, we're going to do the same thing with our 1/8 inch double-sided tape. This is nice strong tape, and we're going to go around those edges of the shaker and then layer one more of those scalloped frames on top, and that's going to give it a nice finished look so that you don't see any of that adhesive that we were using earlier. I really think that the sequins behind the vellum look like it's the fluff from the dandelion just floating everywhere in the air. So we're going to add some tape runner to that pink banner and layer that right on top. And then we can start to form our scene. And this time we've colored the mice in some warm grays. So I'd done those really nice kind of beautiful browns earlier. And now here we have some warm grays, and there's a nice little comparison. So it's a good way to mix and match your little mice by using a lot of your different neutral markers. So we're going to be adding some tape runner to some of these pieces and also some foam squares, kind of mixing and matching to create a really three-dimensional scene. I love the look of the one guy flying up in the air, and then now we're going to take a bunch of the greenery and just kind of layer it in the background, and that's going to start creating the scene for our little mice. We'll add the dandelion that has some of the pieces blown off with the little cute little mouse that's kind of blowing and holding the dandelion. And then we can layer the little mom mouse with the baby mouse, which is my favorite, onto the card. And we're going to give that little baby mouse another tiny dandelion to hold. And once again, we're going to keep layering these pieces. That dandelion was a bit too tall, so I'm just going to trim off a piece of it and layer that on there. And then we can just put our little leaves right on top, and it's going to cover up that cut line. And you can see just how cute this is looking. One more mouse, and then we have to add our little dandelion pieces into the air as if they're floating all over the place. So that one guy's blowing on the dandelion, and all those pieces are floating, and all those sequins in the background are that dandelion fluff just floating around in a really magical way. We're going to add our tape runner to the back of the whole shaker mechanism and then attach that onto the card just like that. And this card is all done. It is the sweetest, prettiest Mother's Day card. I'm already excited to give it to my mom. So cute and fun. I love the shaker part of it. I love those pieces moving around behind the vellum. And I love creating cool scenes with these cute little guys. Next up, we're going to be recreating a card by Audrey, and we're going to be using some of the brand new stencils. So we're going to die cut using an outside-in stitched rectangle, some white cardstock, and this is some removable adhesive. Just going to add a little bit to the back and attach this flat onto this mat to hold it in place. This is the new grassy stencil. So we're going to be using this to create a really cool background. So we're going to put that grassy stencil down and then just put some low tack tape there to hold it in place. Next, we'll take some peeled paint distress ink and a blender brush. We're going to pick up some of that ink and slowly go in circles starting on the stencil and going off of the stencil onto that piece of cardstock. And this is going to create a really cool grass. So you'll see we'll go in little bit of circles and just kind of building up that color slowly to create kind of this cool gradient look. So we'll kind of go in a little bit of fast motion here, just building up that color down into that white cardstock. And then to add a little extra dimension, we're going to take some Mode Lawn Distress ink and add that just towards the top of the grass. And that's going to help in creeping this really cool gradient look that's going to make what's going to be a flat scene look really, really dynamic. So now the best part, peeling up that stencil. How gorgeous does that look? Now we're going to take our chamois and clean off the stencil. And one of my favorite parts about these stencils is that it also has the opposite image at the top. So all we need to do is shift that down. We're going to layer it over our grass, and it's going to protect our grass as we create our scene. So now you've spent all that time on the grass, it's nice and protected. We can hold that in place with some tape, and now we're going to start creating our sky. And one of the things that I loved that Audrey did was she made a yellow sky. The yellow and green go together really well with this whole dandelion theme, and I think it's just a really unique and different look. And I'm really excited to just think about other colors, think a little outside the box for my skies. So here we have some squeezed lemonade that we're keeping kind of towards the top, and then we're going to bring in some wild honey, which is a little bit more of an orangey color towards the bottom. And because we have that stencil there protecting our grass, we can freely ink right up into the edge of all of those blades of grass. And now we have this great gradient going from kind of an orangey to a yellow. To make sure that there's a nice even gradient, we're going to go back to that lighter yellow squeezed lemonade color, and we're just going to blend that up into the sky. Now we're leaving some white at the top and some white at the bottom, and I really like that look as if the color's kind of fading out into nothing. Now we can take our stamp chamois and just clean any extra ink off that stencil, and it's ready to go for another card. And take a look at this background. Isn't that gorgeous? Now we're going to use that stencil actually one more time because we want to do some paint flicking on this, but we don't want any of the paint to get on the grass. So we're going to be taking our stencil to protect the grass. So we're going to add some water into that gold paint, kind of create a soupy texture. And right this point was when we're like, oh wait, we need that stencil to protect the grass. So we're just going to lay that stencil right on top of the grass, just like that. And now we can splatter this gold paint, and it's only going to be in the sky. So right like this, we're just going to splatter that all around. It's going to give that sky some texture, and once again, our grass is completely free of these little splatters. These splatters to me are also kind of reminiscent again of thinking about the dandelion fluff kind of going in the air as the little mice make wishes. We're going to put that aside to let it dry, and we're going to work on our sentiment. And once again, we're going to be taking out one of those simple wavy banners, and those wavy banners just look so cute with this set. So we're going to take out a wavy banner, and then we're going to take our sentiment here, which is "Have a dandy day," and we're going to be stamping that onto the wavy banner in some black licorice ink. Once we have that stamped, we're going to add some foam tape to the back of our scene here, adding some nice long strips to keep it nice and sturdy, and then we can add that onto a standard size card base at 5.5 by 4.25, and because we use the largest of the outside in stitched rectangles, we have a nice little white border all around the card. We're going to add our sentiment piece here with some foam squares, and then we'll just go ahead and take some scissors and trim off any of the excess. Now we'll start adding our stamped and die cut pieces to the card, and we're going to be adding some on with some liquid glue nice and flat and some on with foam squares just to create lots of different dimension. And I love how that leaf piece looks great with the smaller flower and the larger flower. We're going to keep layering all of these pieces on, and now we can add our cute mice. So we're going to have the one kind of floating in the air and the other guy standing right on the sentiment banner, and a couple of those little dandelion fluff pieces floating in the air. And now the card is all done, and I love that stencil background. It's so gorgeous and dynamic, and those cute little mice, the yellow and green color palette, I just love it. Next up, we have some stunning cards by the design team, and this card here by Elena is just beautiful. I loved how she used those butterfly nets from Butterfly Kisses to be catching the dandelion pieces. This card here by Elise is so sweet. I love that inked oval that she has in the background and that cute little mouse floating up in the air. Here is the gorgeous card by Grace that inspired us to make our card today. And then this card by Letitia uses the new cloud stencil, and I love the rainbow clouds that she created. It's so magical. Here I love how Maureen created a really cool pull tab card, and as you pull the tab, that cute little mouse floats up in the air. This card by Tammy is so striking. I love the inking that she did and how she used the new Oliver stitched ABCs for her sentiment. And here I love how Mindy added in that awesome rainbow with the dandelion pieces. It's so cute. This card by Lynette is so sweet. I love how she layered the green on green. It's a really cool tone-on-tone color palette. And this scene by Elise is just gorgeous, and she used the new portrait meadow backdrop, which looks so cute with these little mice. I love how Megan added some pink mushrooms to complete her scene. It's so super cute to mix and match these sets. And this is the card by Audrey that inspired us to make ours today. This card by Megan here is so sweet, and I love how she used the reveal wheel to create a motion for that floating mouse in the air. And then here Megan used the double slider surprise to create the coolest scene. As you pull on the tabs, all those mice come out, and that scene is just the sweetest. And then this card by Tammy is absolutely beautiful. I love the purple for a Mother's Day card. I love how Yanea created those cutouts out of her panel inked with the new cloudy stencil. It's gorgeous. And here is a cute and simple, quick and easy to reproduce Mother's Day card, and I love the little mice on top of that Lift the Flap meadow log. I can't wait to see what you guys create with Dandy Days, so make sure to share it with us. Thank you so much for watching today. I think you guys are just dandy. I hope you have an absolutely amazing day. Bye!